What's up, duelists? MD here, and today I am happy to present you all with my Lunalight deck profile. Now, this is unlike most decks, considering it is a fusion deck instead of relying mostly on XZ, synchros, or pendulums, anything like that. But it's still a very powerful deck, and when played correctly, can hold its own against the best of decks. And an added bonus that this deck is actually dirt cheap to pick up. So, without delay, gonna get right into it. First off here, going to start off with 3 Lunalight Black Sheep. This card has several effects, 2 of them being that whenever you discard it from your hand to the graveyard, you could either search for a polymerization and put it into your hand, or you could get a Lunalight monster back from the graveyard into your hand. And when this is used as a fusion material for a fusion summon, you could target another Lunalight monster you used as for the fusion and put it back into your hand. So definitely an important card here. Can never ever run this in less than 3. Hopefully Konami doesn't hit that. Alright, next up, a card of equal importance would be Lunalight White Rabbit. Now this card also has a couple effects. Whenever it is normal summon, you target 1 Lunalight monster in your graveyard and you special summon in defense position. Permanently. No other strings attached whatsoever. Oh, and also for every other Lunalight monster you control, you could target the amount of spells and traps that your opponent controls and return all into your hand. So it's basically like a giant Shroonade. Great way of getting rid of back row. Put that to the side here. And next off, gonna be your Mystic Tomato of the deck, Lunalight Blue Cat. And for those of you who know what I mean by that, basically whenever she's destroyed by battle or card effect, you could special summon a Lunalight monster from your deck in either attack or defense position. And it just keeps going over and over again. It's not once per turn or anything like that. And she has the very useful effect of whenever she is special summoned, that you target another Lunalight monster you control, and that monster's attack is doubled its original one for the rest of that turn. So definitely a great way to beef up those already high attack fusions. That's this side. Next up, we're going to get into our pendulums of the deck. 3 copies of Lunalight Tiger and 3 copies of Lunalight Wolf. Alright, let me explain to you Wolf first. This is basically your miracle fusion of the deck, where you can target Lunalight monsters in either your field or graveyard, banish them, and you can special summon a fusion Lunalight monster. And also when it's on the field, it grants defense piercing for your other Lunalight monsters, which is pretty cool. And also for your Lunalight Tiger, whenever this is destroyed, you can special summon a Lunalight monster from your graveyard. And once per turn while it's in the scale, you can special summon one from the graveyard into the field, but its effects are negated and it gets destroyed by the end of that turn. So while it doesn't stay there permanently, it's definitely good to bring it out for the fusion effects or to pull off a fusion or stuff like that. And last but not least, for the Lunalight monster lineup, we have 3 copies of Purple Butterfly. Yeah, all the Lunalight monsters at this point are at a 3, just because they're all important to the deck. So this is almost like your honest of the deck, but you can't do it during your opponent's turn. But what it does is you could discard from your hand to the graveyard, target another Lunalight monster, and it gains 1,000 attack for that turn. And it has a second effect that when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it and special summon a Lunalight from your hand. Again, helping out with that blue cat, along with the pendulum summoning part. So there's a lot of ways to special summon blue cat and to get off that double attack. Now, while most of those cards are impressive, they're not really very powerful. So in a deck, I run 1 copy of Gores and 1 copy of Dark Arm Dragon. Now, Dark Arm Dragon is because most of your Lunalight cards are dark monsters. So you have to have 3 of them exactly in the graveyard, which is not hard to do whatsoever. And once that happens, you can just special summon him right off the bat, 2,800 attack, and you can banish a dark monster from your graveyard and destroy it, pop 1 card your opponent controls. And Gores is very good for defensive plays. Basically, whenever someone attacks you directly or effect damage wise, you can special summon him right off the bat like that. 27, so very powerful once again. And that about does it for the monster lineup. Next up, we're going to go into spells. Now, since this is a fusion deck, it only makes sense to run 3 copies of Polymerization. This is how you get to special summon your Lunalight fusion monsters. So you activate the spell, target 2 Lunalights, and just fuse them together. Well, 2 or more, I should say. And with that, going to run 2 copies of Fusion Recovery. Now, this is probably going to be one of your more expensive cards in the deck, because even though it's just a common, the Lunalight's support is actually made us jump from like $1 to $5. Not too much, I know, but for a common, it's quite a bit. So you target a fusion material you use along with a polymerization, and you can bring it both back to your hand. So you can see why this is very, very useful. Some people like to run this at a 3, but I feel 3 is just a little bit too much because you're not going to be using it all the time. And let's say you have this in your hand and not a polymerization, it's completely useless in that rate. So 2 I find works out plenty well. And I also won 1 copy of Fusion Substitute. It's basically another polymerization, but, well, its name is even treated as polymerization always. But the thing is, you can't fusion summon from the hand. It has to be from the field. But it has the effect that once it's in the graveyard, you can banish it, put a fusion monster from the graveyard back into your extra deck, and you can draw a card. So, definitely helpful in that aspect. And next up is going to be our main search engine of the deck. 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki. You play the spell, and once it's activated, you can search your deck for a level 4 or lower Beast Warrior monster, which this entire deck, minus the Gores and Dark Arm Dragon, are Beast Warriors. Though, unfortunately, you cannot search Wolf with that because Wolf is at a 5 level. But other than that, searches basically everything else you need. Next up is going to be 2 copies of Fusion Tag. Some people, again, run this at 3, but I find running at 2 is perfect. Basically, what it does is like you target one of your Lunalight monsters, and they can take the name of another Lunalight monster in your extra deck. Like, say, if you want to get the name of Cat Dancer or Panther Dancer, you use it to gain that name to search for the higher one. So, let's say you target a Lunalight, make its name Cat Dancer. You can go instantly into a Panther Dancer, or make its name Panther Dancer, instantly go into a Leo Dancer. So, very, very helpful in the deck. Helps you get out those gigantic fusions that much quicker. And we're going to run 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. Now, I know Twin Twister is a thing now, and it is very, very good, don't get me wrong, but I find it's not really too helpful in this deck, mainly because you already have White Rabbit to deal with back row, and also you're already going to be discarding a lot of cards to pull off your fusion summons and stuff like that. So additional discarding, I feel, is not really necessary, but that's something more I'll leave up to you. Because again, Twin Twister is very powerful, but I feel this kind of helps make it more budget friendly. And for my 2 one-of spells, 1 copy of Soul Charge and 1 copy of Allure of Darkness. Now, even though Allure of Darkness is at 2, I don't think I'll be running at 2 in most of my decks, mainly because I don't want to be banishing my Lunalights out of my hand. I want all banishing to be through Wolf whenever I go for the fusion summons. And Soul Charge is just to help get out your big monsters, like some of your fusion monsters, minus Leo Dancer, because you can't do that, but like Panther Dancer and Cat Dancer, you can just special those with Soul Charge, along with all your other big monsters. So definitely helpful there. And that's about it for the spell lineup. Now we're going to go into the traps. Run 3 copies of Lunalight Reincarnation Dance. Now, I'm kind of going back and forth between 2 and 3, but this is like really a big way to search off your Lunalight stuff, along with Fire Formation Tenki. So it's definitely helpful. It's whenever your Lunalight monsters get destroyed by battle or card effect, activate this, and you can search for 2 of any Lunalights, including Wolf or anything else you might need. So definitely helps you set up for big combo plays there. And also 1 copy of Bottomless Trap Hole and 1 copy of Solemn Warning. I still cannot afford Solemn Strike, nor have I been lucky enough to pull that. So till I could get that kind of money or luck in packs, this is the closest thing I have to the Solemn Brigade. But once again, it still helps with the whole budget friendly thing. So that about does it for the main deck. Now let's go into what makes this deck truly powerful, the extra deck. Start here with the fusions. 3 copies of Lunalight Cat Dancer. Now this is going to be like your main backbone of the deck that helps you get everything off. So first let me read to you what Cat Dancer does. It's 2400 attack, level 7, And it cannot be destroyed by battle, which that alone is very, very good. Keep it in defense position, it can never be run over. And also during the main phase, you could tribute a Lunalight monster on the field. It can attack each monster twice that turn. And the first time the monster is attacked, it's not destroyed. And also every time Cat Dancer declares an attack, you burn your opponent for 100 damage, which doesn't seem like a lot at first, but once you do the tribute, you're just going at each monster twice, boom, boom. That's 200 damage on top of any other battle damage that your opponent's taking. So it definitely burns down the damage very, very quickly. Next up, I'm running 2 copies of Lunalight Panther Dancer, which you need a Cat Dancer and another Lunalight monster to make. Now this could also be a pretty good boss monster along with Leo Dancer, because it has the same effect as Cat Dancer does, except it doesn't need a tribute to do that. It can just do it automatically on the main phase, but it does not burn for 100. However, it gains a much more powerful effect that every time you destroy a monster in battle, during the first and second time it's destroyed, she gains 200 attack, and you just keep going and going and going, hitting them for more and more damage every single time. And this can be destroyed by a battle, but card effects cannot destroy it. So it gains that kind of trade-off there with Cat Dancer. And again, definitely this can win you games alone, because it's a pretty powerful boss monster. But here's the even more powerful monster, Leo Dancer. Now let me tell you something right now. I do not care what you are facing against. Let it be Cosmos, Burning Abyss, PK Fire, Monarchs. Once you get out Leo Dancer and they don't negate to someone with like a Solemn or anything like that, they are in some serious trouble. Because let me read you Leo Dancer. 3,500 attack, needs a Panther Dancer and 2 other Lunalight monsters. And this cannot be special summoned out of the graveyard or anything like that. It has to always be fusion summoned, so that's probably the one downside to it. But it cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. And there is not too much in this game that can run over 3,500. And, okay, so here's the effects. First off, it can attack twice, so boom, boom, that's like 7,000 right there, almost ending the game. Not to mention anything else you have that boosts this thing's attacks ridiculous. And not to mention, when this thing destroys a special summon monster from your opponent's side, you blow up their entire monster field from there and just keep swinging at them like, oh man. It blows my mind how powerful Leo Dancer can be. And like, this is not to be underestimated by any deck whatsoever. Because especially Cosmos, I managed to get this out against a Cosmo matchup, and unless I see like that 4,000 Dark World, there's not much they're going to do against Leo Dancer. So once you get out Leo Dancer, does not matter what you play, you are pretty set for that game. Now, last up I'm going to go into the X Seeds, which, let me tell you something right now, you will rarely to never make. But I just figured I have them in here because no deck is perfect. You're going to be dead on the field sometimes, have monsters but not be able to fusion summon. So it's always going to have a backup plan. So for my rank 4s, I have Dark Rebellion XYZ, Castel Skyblaster, and Abyss Dweller. Generic, Burning Abyss counter. So there's that set up there. And for rank 3s, I have Shadow Lich and Levier Sea Dragon. Now this I felt was kind of a good fit, because since you are banishing monsters sometimes, you could use this to special summon them back, which, once again, you special summon the blue cat, it's still a special summon, and say you have another fusion monster on the field, boom, their attack is instantly doubled due to Levier. And Shadow Lich I find is just a pretty good stall tactic. Basically, you discard a material, it makes a token, it gains 500 attack from that token, and whenever there is a token on the field, this particular card right here cannot be targeted by your opponent's monsters for attacks. So definitely a good stall card once you're if you're just hanging dry, because that happens to the best of decks, unfortunately. Alright, next up for my 2s, which I feel you would make the most often because of the whole thing with White Rabbit and Black Sheep, is going to be 1 Herald of Light and 1 Gachi Gachi Gintatsu. Now this one right here is mainly just to buy you a couple turns, right here. And also for Herald of Light, not really something to buy you a turn, just more like something to recycle things from your discard pile and shuffle something back into your hand. So, pretty good cards overall. Again, these are really just backup plans. Even in general, if you have to make an Xyz monster, then you can tell the game's not going too good for you. And my final Xyz monster is going to be number 11 Big Eye. Now, I know this is a rank 7, but you do have a couple of rank 7s within Cat Dancer, not to mention Gores, and... oh man, I'm drawing a blank here. Dark Arm Dragon, there we go. Because there will be at times very powerful monsters that you can't just overrun, so... an old saying of Magician's Descendant, if you can't beat them, steal them. Terrible joke's over. Alrighty. Now we'll keep going into the side deck. Running one copy of Torrential Tribute, one Torrenturous Trap Hole, one Fire Formation Tensu, just for like an extra normal summon, one copy of Foolish Burial, just to help out with the whole Lunalight Wolf fusion, in case that's going a bit slow for you. Two copies of Vecfailer, just as a tuner monster, just because I do have some synchros in the extra deck. And also, if you're facing someone with just lots and lots of effects, Vecfailer, boom, just discard, and boom, no effect. And yes, I do have the Twin Twisters in the extra deck. This is really just for when I notice the opponent has a lot of back row. So I would probably take out Mystical Space Typhoons for this, or just add this with the Mystical Space Typhoons. It varies sometimes, but I noticed that Twin Twisters was not a good card. One copy of Cattle Call. Now, some people play this in their main deck. I don't really agree with this in the main deck because to me it's very situational. Basically what it does, you tribute one of your regular monsters to bring out a fusion monster that can't attack, effect negated, and it's destroyed by the end of the turn. Now, pretty much what that allows you to do is, say if you got like all the Lunalights on a field or in the graveyard and you got Wolf, you could just go for another fusion summon right there, which I suppose is okay. But again, you have to have like the perfect like field to make this work, so that's why it's going to side and extra deck. Two copies of Artifact Lancia, because I said before, I got nothing against Imperial Iron Wall. I just personally prefer Artifact Lancia over Iron Wall when it comes to a Cosmos counter. Because let's face it, Cosmos, if they weren't everywhere before, they're definitely gonna be everywhere now. One copy of Blackluster Soldier to Beginning. Now, even though this is mainly a dark deck, the two pendulums and Tiger and Wolf are light monsters, and they can be sent to the graveyard because they'll be used as fusion materials sometimes. So you could definitely banish that in a dark monster and just special summon it right there. 3,000 attack, definitely a good way to overrun stuff. If you notice your opponent's deck has just a lot of big beefy monsters. Two copies of Mirror Force. Didn't really see much point of adding this into the main deck, but definitely against something like Pendulum decks or anything like that, I find Mirror Force is pretty good to have. Not to mention, it's Mirror Force. Very iconic. And last up, I run my two synchro monsters and Stardust Spark Dragon and YuGiOh King. YuGiOh King kind of goes with my old saying, if you can't beat them, steal them. And Stardust Spark Dragon can basically protect itself or one of your other monsters for a turn by just a quick target. So, and you would mainly make these with either the Lunalight Cat Dancer, with the Vecfailer, or with the Gores or Dark Arm Dragon. Alright, so put those to the side. And yeah, that's about it for the Lunalight deck profile. This has become one of my personal favorite decks to play. It's incredibly fun. And your opponent, like, they can't underestimate this deck, because if they do, they're gonna lose. Don't matter what kind of expensive, high-tier meta deck they're playing. I will repeat myself. If they underestimate this deck, they will lose. And once again, this is dirt cheap to pick up. So if you're new trying to get to the game but don't have a lot of money, I highly recommend you pick up this deck. It's super fun. Goes back to the old school with fusions. And just, yeah, very unpredictable. Could pull off a lot of crazy things. So if you like this deck profile, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'm doing my best to make more and more of these deck profiles more often, because I really would like to. It's just I gotta get a hold of all the cards I need first. So, yeah, this has been Magician's Descendant, and you duelists have an amazing day.